Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they take to create change. Past guests include Roland Frazier, Rick Cesari, and Tom Shipley. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 25 years. So if you're a company that has software, product, or design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for you to learn about the patent process. And you could email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You could also check out the book that I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. So I have with me here today Liran Hirschkorn. Liran has been marketing online for 12 years, and among other things, he's created 3 e-commerce brands that have sold millions of dollars in products on Amazon. He's the founder of Incrementum Digital, and he helps Amazon sellers to manage their advertising on Amazon. He's widely followed thought leader and speaker on Amazon. We've spoken at many events before, and I want to say that I'm really happy to welcome Liran, but we've actually been BSing for about a half an hour now because we haven't spoken in a while. So this podcast is actually starting mid-conversation, but yes, welcome, Liran.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's always fun chatting with you and catching up, especially when we're both not traveling all over the world like madmen, like we have in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I have a pretty intense travel schedule, and Liran does too. Sometimes his is even more crazy than mine, and usually you know that Liran is traveling because you see a picture on social media of him in the cockpit.
Yes. I jump on the plane and take a picture in the cockpit and post it on social. It's kind of a fun thing, but no cockpit pictures in the last couple of months.
I know. I must be going through withdrawals, but I always wonder how you even get those pictures because, like, since 9/11, I mean, they're usually pretty tight about the access to the cockpit.
Yeah, I'm a Delta Diamond, so I go on the plane first, and I'll go on and I'll just ask the flight attendant right at the front, like, hey, can I jump in for a quick picture? And they're usually super nice about it. And the pilots I feel like the pilots kind of like it too, because somebody thinks their job is super cool.
Right.
So I always take a picture. I say, thank you for keeping me safe. I try to be super respectful. It's fun. Then I post it on social media.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I mean, you do a great deal of traveling and you do a great deal of networking.
Yes.
And I think, I mean, I remember just a few days ago, you kind of posting about someone that you met on social media, met on a plane that was then one of your guests on the show, pretty major influencer.
Yes. Yeah. I've always kind of followed what Tony Robbins says, which is the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. And, everything that you want and want to get in life, you get through other people, right? You can't accomplish everything just on your own. So I've always been a big believer in that, and also believer in like the concept of give value first, and then you can ask for something. In this case, this was my last flight before the lockdown, coming back from Austin, and I was actually wearing like Tony Robbins like hat, and we were both using hand sanitizer. She was sitting next to me with a seat in the middle open, and I just struck up a conversation. And turns out this woman that was on the flight was on her way to New York to meet with VCs and raise money, and she had been on Shark Tank and got a deal with Mark Cuban, and just super cool. And stayed in touch with her a little bit since on social media. And then I asked her if she would come on the podcast. So yeah, you never know where one conversation can go, where one idea, this podcast is about taking a product to market. One idea, one conversation, one thing you listen to can totally change the trajectory of your life. So, sometimes getting uncomfortable and striking that conversation can make a major impact in your business and in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit on a few things that I really strongly believe there. Just in reverse order, it's like typically everything that you want in life is right outside of your comfort zone, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it's like doing something uncomfortable is usually in service of something that you really want. And the main reason you haven't gotten it is because you hadn't previously been willing to do something uncomfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about, everything in life, the stuff you're afraid to do, you don't want to do the first time you do it. I've been traveling to China now for several years. And like the first time traveling to China by myself was kind of like, I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know what the crossing the border is going to be like. I don't know what that's like. Right. And I don't know what's going to be on the other side of that border, and like all this unknown, but like you do it once, you do it twice. And then like next time you're like whizzing by, everything that's going to be there. You're comfortable, and you got to get a little uncomfortable. Sometimes crossing borders, not just physically, but mentally, crossing borders into uncharted territory leads into some new things that, like you said, outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, crossing the
Yes.
invisible line you've drawn in the sand. You cross the line, and all of a sudden, and you don't die. And
Yes.
now you've had the experience of crossing the line, and it's okay. And so
Yeah.
now it's part of your repertoire, and then that's you've expanded your range of things that you can do, and having it, it be okay.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And you gotta be willing to, talking about bringing product to market, you got to be willing to be okay with like failing at something, and also realizing that it's never really failure if you get back up and you learn something from it. You haven't truly failed. So being with that mindset, I think, is super helpful. And yeah, I think I credit a lot of the success that I've had in the e-commerce field to networking and the relationships and going to events and meeting this one person who gave me this tip that led to this other thing that, I actually have some patents. And the only reason I have patents is because I went to a mastermind, and I met a guy there who I showed him my product. It was early on, I was just bringing it to market, and he's like, "You should have a patent on that." And I have a patent attorney, and didn't know you at the time, Rich. But he gave me that idea, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't have had that idea if it wasn't for
right.
somebody sort of tipping me off into something.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, that's okay. I'm glad that you protected yourself. That's what matters to me.
Yes,
We've got plenty of business to do in the future. Uh,
absolutely.
and yeah, I mean, it is. You gave the Tony Robbins quote on relationships. One of my favorites, though, is relationship is the foundation of accomplishment. Like saying similar to what you're saying is that really whatever we accomplish is built on people,
Yep,
and you can't truly accomplish anything without other people, and without those
100%.
relationships.
Absolutely.
Um, and also you mentioned the failure and your relationship to failure. I mean, one of my thoughts on that is often it's not about the experience; it's about your experience of your experience.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
like the experience could be failure, but your experience of your experience can be, and that's great. I learned
Right.
so much. Like
Right.
you could have a positive experience of your experience. Like as long as you have failure coded as failure equals always bad, then you'll be afraid to fail. But if you have an experience of failure where like I've failed and I learned so much and that led to these other people that I never would have met if I had never failed. So
Hmm.
it's like, you know, it's it's that kind of concentric ring around
Yes.
your experience of your experience, where I think
Yes.
all the juice is.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because in what I do with Amazon and launching products and bringing products to market, and people are often so worried, like the first product they want to bring and launch. And my advice has always been to people, like, don't invest a ton of money in your first product launch. Like if you're gonna put in 5 grand or 10,000, like Don't put in 50,000, 100,000. Consider that $5,000 your, MBA and product launch, right? Like whatever happens with that doesn't really matter. It's what you learn going through the experience that you're really paying for to do it. And you can watch a million courses and webinars and listen to podcasts, but you're not going to get the same learning experiences actually doing the work, taking action, learning through that process. And if you view things that way, then you'll probably move forward a lot more and get ahead a lot more than by, judging yourself based on your one product launch.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually very similar to advice I give to people often, which is that part of the value of, and similar to launching a product, but part of the value of going through the patent process is that you have the experience of going through the patent process. So, right. I mean, I think for most people, it's not their first idea that's a hit. It may be their third. So if they never went through the process with the first, they would never have had that experience and known what to do when they had that next great thing.
Right.
Whether it's the patent process itself or whether it's the launching a product, often the value you get out of it is just the experience of having gone through it. And that's what has you do it when it really counts, when you've really got the thing that's going to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to be willing to try things, experiment, and be, any business owner or entrepreneur, you kind of need to accept that you're going to have challenges challenges are guaranteed. Obstacles are guaranteed. It's the only question is how you're going to react to it and how you're going to overcome it. And having that mindset, I think, is biggest thing I've learned in being self-employed for the last 10 years is that challenges never stop. It's like how you handle them and knowing I'll give you an example. I opened, I rebranded this agency, and a couple weeks ago I had to open a new bank account. And I opened the bank account. I went to the bank, actually. I drove to the bank, couldn't open the account at the bank because they were like, it's COVID, and it was a Monday, and they said, you can come back Friday at 2:00 if you want to open the account. We're only taking one at a time behind the window. We can't sit at the desk. We have appointments. So I went home and I said, let me just try to open this online. So I opened the bank account online, and it's like a Wisconsin, Wyoming thing. So I wasn't sure if I'd be able to open online. So I opened it online. And Thursday morning I wake up, and at 6 a.m. I see an email. The bank account is closed. And meanwhile I have payments I need to make and money from Stripe coming there and all this stuff. And I knew Chase, you can't call them now until 9:00 in the morning. But I just knew you know what? It's nothing. I got stressed for a second, and then knew I'll be able to solve it. And it's kind of that calmness of knowing I know I'm going to deal with problems today, and I also know that I can. Everything is figure outable. I can overcome it.
Yeah, and that's a certain mindset that could be really valuable. Just to have confidence in yourself that things will be figure outable, that you'll get to a solution. So as as crazy as things can seem on the surface, then as long as you know that in the end you'll work it out, and you've had the experience of I've had crazier and I've worked it out, right? That can carry you through so much in business.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that comes with a combination of experience and age. Maybe when I was 20 I would freak out, maybe, and maybe now I don't.
Yeah, when I was 40 I was such a hothead.
Great. I'm turning 40 next year, so I have a lot to look forward to.
yeah, that's awesome. But no, that's funny, and we've been talking quite a bit about mindset, and it's interesting because I know mindset is really important to you.
Very.
And you mentioned Tony Robbins before. I know you'd like to go to his different events and other things like that. I mean, just tell me about the role that personal growth plays in your life and your business.
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, I went to my first Tony Robbins event in 2009, but I feel in the last year or so I just made a lot of changes in my life, and a lot of it has been from personal development and growth. But I think if you think about it, if you're running a business, ultimately you are the machine that is running the business. And if the machine is not in the right state of mind, or if the machine is not as, mentally sharp, physically sharp, like all there, then it's not going to be able to run the business as well. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's been a lot about like perspective. What do I really want in life? What am I really trying to accomplish? Why do I want what I want? And being able to just like that kind of thought, like, hey, I know I'll be able to figure this out, or challenges are going to be part of the road and I know I can overcome them. But kind of also focusing on success being not just in business, but success being like in all areas of my life. Like, I follow Jesse Itzler too. And Jesse Itzler said, I've been in plenty of boardrooms, and like a lot of times with people that are, a lot of people would say successful, but he said, they're not successful. They're just rich, right? Like, if you are, if you're the wealthiest person in the hospital, that's not going to be very good. Or if you're, when you look at these studies about billionaires or very, very wealthy people, when they look back, the biggest things they regret in their life are not spending as much time with, their relationships and family and like those kind of things, not like the business deals that worked out or didn't work out. So I've been trying to focus on all areas of my life: business, wellness, family, my relationships, and then like, I guess another bucket for just like other things you might care about, charity, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And not just see success as business. And I think, yeah, a lot of it comes from being in a certain mindset, having a certain level of perspective on how you react to things. I went to Date with Destiny, which is Tony Robbins' event. It was 6 days in December. And yeah, definitely made some big changes. I was on, for the last 20 years, probably, antidepressants, mostly for like anxiety. I had a panic attack when I was 20. In January, I came home and just took myself off. And probably something I've attempted in the past and had like withdrawal symptoms and stuff on some of this. So, but it was really the mindset that got me through to say like, hey, I can do this. I can push forward. I can overcome challenges. Everything is figure outable, like those kind of things. And then I've been in Jesse Itzler's course, and he's kind of put in a lot of good concepts in my mind that like through this course, like one of the things he says is like, remember tomorrow. How is the decision you're making now, how is it going to make you feel now, but how is it going to make you feel tomorrow? Another thing he says is be where your feet are, right? Which, we live in a distracted world, and, half the time you could be talking to somebody and they're on their phone, or you could be listening to this right now, but you're also like scrolling through stuff and you're not really getting the full benefit out of it because you're not really present. And
what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So like being present and,
right.
Little things, just even in business and in meetings, I find like just being focused on the thing, put my phone away, focus on that is getting me better results. And same thing with, relationships.
Yeah, no, I think that's really awesome. Hey, let's talk about products a bit. Why not?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So, so you've launched a few products.
Yes.
That's, I can't say I have an intelligent question about that, but just tell me a little about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're living in an incredible time where the opportunity to launch products has never been easier. If we look back to, even look back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, if you had an idea for a product, it's like you have to have a lot of money to go, like, you can't just get shelf space on Walmart or Target or or you try to have to, you'd have to go and try to sell to stores or all this stuff. And now we live in this amazing opportunity, amazing world where, for not a lot of money, you can get a product manufactured and made either in the US or overseas, depending on the product. You have places like Alibaba. That's where I sourced initially all the products that I was looking to, even products that I have patents on. I found the suppliers on Alibaba or went to the Canton Fair in China. You can spend $5,000 or $10,000 and manufacture a product, and then you can launch it in marketplaces like Amazon, for example, or on a website. But Amazon is kind of my specialty, and immediately reach, millions of potential buyers with that product. And so it's like, there's no more, it's like, it's been democratized, right? The whole process of bringing a product to market has been now accessible to the masses, really, right? Without a lot of money, where used to be, you had to be a major player. And it's why the growth of private label and like the opportunities exist. And people are able to start businesses with $10,000 and bring a product to market. And so, now in the last few months with COVID, I think the opportunity has even accelerated greater than that, because I think what COVID has done is it's accelerated e-commerce 10 years forward. People who never bought groceries online have now changed their behavior to buy groceries online. People who bought stuff at brick and mortar stores, you couldn't necessarily, or you didn't want to necessarily and go do that. So consumer buying behavior has changed. People are buying, even those who are buying products online are now buying in new categories that they've never purchased products online. So it's been this massive acceleration. Obviously, Amazon, you look at their stock and they've put themselves in a really good position because of this. And so you can now be a one-man show, leverage Amazon. You're leveraging FBA, their entire fulfillment network, operations. Like Amazon has put in, billions of dollars into this network, and you can just place a business on top of that. And that's an incredible opportunity to launch products, start a business, bring products to market, and do so without a lot of risk. I mean, when you look at, generally what it takes to start a business, if you wanted to go open a store, you have to sign a year lease and commit to all this money and buy equipment. Or if you wanted to start a franchise business, you're looking at, $100,000. And, there's a lot of people that are able to start businesses online and launching physical products with much lower budgets, much less risk along the way. So I think it's an incredible time. And, people still question, like, is this still a good time to launch a product on Amazon? And when you look at the percentage of total sales that are on Amazon versus all of retail, is still kind of a small number, and growing, but maybe 5-6% still of total worldwide sales. And so it's just a tremendous opportunity for anybody today to launch a business and sell physical products. And then, and then behind that, if you are somebody that is a little bit creative and has an idea, right, and you go and like have some IP around that and develop a patent or work, you can also hire people to say, hey, what kind of changes can I make to this? Or how can I differentiate and come out with something unique in the market? You become even more, you have more of a moat or, defensiveness around that product and that idea. And so it's just a tremendous opportunity to launch a business with physical products.
Yeah, I totally agree. And let's talk a little bit about that differentiation. So you've launched products before. I mean, like, what role has differentiating played in the success of those?
So I've launched products that were what I would call similar to others.
Like Me Too's.
Me Too type products that were out there and have been successful because with Amazon, you can evaluate all the data. You can look at the sort of competition, the supply, how much keyword search volume keywords have, and see that there's this gap in the market. Or
actually that's your specialty too, is like in marketing, is you do pay-per-click management for Amazon brands, for e-commerce brands.
Yeah, absolutely. So being able to leverage that and leverage the latest strategies, especially if you are competing, let's say, with the Chinese on a product, they're good at obviously sourcing, but they're not great at marketing side, or at least I think, as a native person in the US, I think I'm better, or I can be better. So that's an advantage. But so I've launched those kind of products and been successful. And then I've also launched products where I've had design patents and been successful. And my theory is that Amazon is getting more and more competitive. For example, if you're talking about the Amazon marketplace, it's getting more and more competitive. And often it can be that you do find a niche and you do find something that's not competitive. And 6 months later, it becomes competitive because now the data is all there. Every product on Amazon
Everybody rushes in.
Everybody rushes in.
Yeah.
And sometimes that creates a race to the bottom, right? In terms of pricing. And there are multiple ways to defend against that. One of them is like, if you were good enough to build an audience off Amazon for your product and you have some brand loyalty and you're building brand, that could be one way. The other way is really to differentiate your product and utilize IP and utilize patents. I did that. I developed a design patent, and then people did copy me. And for example, one of those people, I had Amazon remove their product, and they contacted me, and then I cut a royalty deal with them where I now get a royalty on their sales on the product on Amazon. So like now I'm cheering for them to sell just as much as I do on the product or even more. I get a royalty. So I think differentiating a product long term is good for your brand. Again, there's other things you could do, like from on the marketing side, there's better packaging. There's other things you could do that are not IP per se. And if you are getting into a niche early, then if you're aggressive and you're able to gain some foothold in the market and be the leader and have more reviews and stuff, that can help you. But I think differentiating a product can be very, very valuable. And again, you could do that with IP, or you could do that by adding some features or benefits that other products don't necessarily have. But the more of
and hopefully both. Hopefully you add some features and benefits which the other products don't have that you can then protect, so that you gain the advantage, and then your competitors can then rush in and start doing those features as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I think it's very important to be able to differentiate your product, especially if you are going into a category or a niche that is more competitive. If you have a good idea, or if you have a better design, then to be able to both differentiate and have some protection around it is very, very valuable. And I think is also going to be more valuable if you want to sell your business, right? That you have something other than just, sales and reviews. Let's say if you're kind of like an Amazon business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having the IP means that beyond the sales and reviews that you've been able to achieve, you're selling the upside, like the ability for someone to come in and do even better than you because other people can't make the same product.
Right.
So, yeah,
yes,
absolutely. And so then, in terms of pay-per-click and what you do, I mean, let's talk a little bit about like your thing. So, I mean, like for some products, when there isn't a lot of differentiation, it can be extremely competitive. And I mean, going back a few years, you could rank on Amazon. So when someone searches for coffee filters, let's say, you could rank pretty highly, maybe even at the top, based upon your reviews and some other factors. But now in the last few years, like since Amazon has heavily emphasized pay-per-click, like now, unless you're bidding for keywords, it's almost impossible to be at the top unless you're bidding, correct?
Yeah, correct. So Amazon advertising is the fastest growing revenue channel for Amazon. And Amazon wants to heavily compete with Google and Facebook for those ad dollars, especially from bigger brands. And if you look back, when I started selling on Amazon in 2014, there may have been like 3 or 4 sponsored listings on page one. Now, when you look, there's 10 plus sponsored listings, and like you'll search, and the first thing you'll see on top is what's called a sponsored brand, or it used to be called a headline ad on top. And then right underneath that, you'll see like usually four product listings that are ads. And then in the middle of the page, now there's video ads that show up on mobile and on desktop. There's all these new ad type forms. Amazon is just maximizing their revenue through advertising. I mean, it's very, 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 very smart for them.
They're doing
And
what
so,
Google did about 7 years ago, where they were just like, okay, well, advertising is working. So what other ads can we do? Let's do video ads. Let's do,
yes, yep,
they kind of, they're doing the maximizing that Google did
yes,
kind of in the last decade.
yeah, absolutely. And and look, this is both, I would say, good and bad in terms of for sellers, right? You could see it as a negative, as a seller on Amazon, because now it's like you do have to, if you have your own brand, you do have to advertise. On the other hand, it's a tremendous opportunity where I have a product, tomorrow I launch it and I can literally have it seen by thousands of people through the power of advertising. Because you're not going to rank on page one organically, generally, just by putting a listing up. But the difference between advertising on Amazon and Google is that when you advertise on Google and people like click on your ads and stuff, it doesn't have anything to do with the organic Google search results. On Amazon, it heavily does. So if somebody searches for coffee filter, my ad shows up. They click my ad, they go to my listing, they maybe add the product to cart even, or they buy. That influences the organic rank. And so you can actually rank your products organically, especially with new products, because new products have this like additional love in the algorithm, where if you are aggressive on new products and you know how to do it right, you can use the power of ads to actually get that organic visibility. And so, today you need to really be advertising, especially on new products. You need to be advertising to get that visibility. But then there are tremendous opportunities. There's video ads, which not everyone has access to, and not everyone is utilizing, and the cost per click is really low because not everyone is using it. So that inventory has a lower competition. Those are running very, very successfully. And there's Amazon DSP, which is the demand side platform, which is like off Amazon retargeting people who saw your competitors' products, who saw your products. There's a lot of channels to advertise if you know how to take advantage of it and you know how to optimize it. And honestly, it's not rocket science. It's a matter of digging in, understanding how things work, understanding keywords and match types and search terms and all the different ad types, and knowing how to take advantage of it. Obviously, you can outsource it to hire somebody in-house, or outsource it to an agency like mine or whomever to help you with that. But today, it's really like, if you're your own brand on Amazon, whether you have people searching for your brand or not, you want to advertise. And sometimes offensively, to go on the offense, you can advertise on other people's pages, and sometimes defensively. Sometimes, like on Amazon, if you're Lego, you're advertising on your own Lego search term, because if you don't, Playmobil is going to be in that spot, right? Somebody else is going to be in that spot right on top by targeting your brand name there. So Amazon has just been super smart about it too, because it's really the only platform where from Facebook to Google, where it makes sense for you to advertise, even if you're breaking even or losing money, because there's this like flywheel effect, right? Every sale I get, if I get a sale through advertising, it boosts my organic ranking. I get a new customer. I potentially get a review of that sale. So there's all these things. Then maybe the person gets my product and I have an insert in there that gives them a coupon off their next product with me, right? So like there's all these things that are good that happen when a sale occurs, that people are willing to break even or even lose money on their advertising. Very smart for Amazon. On Google or Facebook, you generally wouldn't run ads very long if you're losing money doing it, because you don't have that flywheel effect. So
Right, it's like
Amazon's
momentum.
just
And
smart.
so that
Yes.
even if you're technically losing money at the moment, you realize you're generating momentum.
Yep.
And so you're chasing after that moment where there will be profitability, but you
Yes.
know that at the very least, even if you're selling it at a slight loss, you are contributing to the future success,
Yeah,
the
absolutely. And
future
especially,
value.
yeah, and especially if you are selling in a consumable product, right? Like if you're selling supplements or health and beauty or anything a person will buy more than once, grocery, all those categories, you're willing to pay to acquire a customer. And bigger brands also are willing to lose money because a lot of their metrics and what they look at are new to brand customers. And that's one of the metrics Amazon shows you in certain ad types on how many new to brand customers. And big brands want to just acquire customers without always looking at the profitability. So definitely getting more competitive. Understanding and utilizing ads and knowing how to optimize them is can be the difference between success or failure on a product.
That's awesome. Really great advice, really great information. Liran, if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, how do they do that?
So they can email me, Liran at incrementumdigital.com. So it's Incrementum, INCREMENTUM, incrementumdigital.com. We have a new site coming. We rebranded and have a new site coming. So it should be up maybe by the time this episode is out. On the site, I will also have a free training, like an hour sort of training on just utilizing Amazon ads. I talk about all the different new ad types that are out there. I would highly recommend, if you sell on Amazon, to be leveraging like sponsored brand video ads and sponsored display product targeting ads and custom image beta for sponsored brand ads. There's a lot of new ad types that are working really well, that are less competitive, that if you're sort of staying on top of it and are able to take advantage of it, can be super beneficial. And then I'm also on social media, Facebook and LinkedIn. You could just send me a message. I'm happy to just give you some advice on your own Amazon and ad situation. Whether or not you become a client or not is secondary.
Not to mention the fact that you're fun to follow. You always share interesting things.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so I appreciate you being here. It's always great to hang with. Really, always great to hang out with you. And so just thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I will say the same about you. You've always been super helpful to me. And when I've had some questions on patents, I called you in a little bit of a panic a couple of weeks ago with a question, and you instantly helped me out and gave me the answer on a potential like trademark issue. I've always been super helpful and a guy that you can kind of go to and know that he's looking out for you in your best interest. So appreciate you as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. Thanks so much.
Take
care.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.